All right, Kyle, I have to start here. As you know, Bills idle last week on the bye with everything that transpired in the AFC this past week, and there were some topsy-turvy results. Does it change how you feel about the Bills in 2021?
I've always felt good about the Bills in 2021. I really, nothing really changes. I know, what do we know, Brownie? It's just, there's going to have to be a couple tenacious playoff wins in January for the Bills to do what they want to do. God, there's good teams in the AFC. There's good quarterbacks in the AFC. And listen, Tennessee is going to be one of them. It's Tennessee, as we know, just did the title game sweep in beating Buffalo and Kansas City. And I can't believe the way they did it. There's a lot of the two outcomes in the AFC last week that I thought just blew me away. First of all, Cincinnati trouncing Baltimore, and everybody in the AFC is saying, oh, great, this Joe Burrow thing is going to be real. Like, Cincinnati is not our homecoming game anymore. They're not our pseudo-bye week anymore. And then the other one, of course, is Tennessee just destroying Kansas City in the worst Kansas City game in 3 years and the worst Mahomes game ever. I'm still reeling from that one, because if you had told me going into that game that Derrick Henry's longest run would be 11 yards and Tannehill would go one touchdown, one interception, you think, oh, well, Chiefs by 20. No, they lost by 24. And it's like, I don't even know if the defense is the biggest problem anymore, and I don't know if they're the Bills' problem anymore.
Yeah. Speaking of trying to, get yourself ready and pseudo-bye weeks, that's going to be hard for the Bills. Each of their next three opponents have a combined 3 victories. I mean, they're all 1-6. And it's basically Sisters of the Poor, the 14 Holy Helpers, and the Bad News Bears that they have for the next 3 weeks here, Kyle. I mean, yeah, Trevor Lawrence might be your best version of Kelly Lee, but help convince me that the Bills are going to be getting playoff ready the next 3 weeks with these opponents.
You know who you just spared, Brownie? The Washington Generals. They could have been in that thing, too. The Washington Generals fan base is thrilled that you let your foot off
I feel
their
for
neck.
them. I do.
You do. I mean, and didn't they eventually beat the Globetrotters? There was a big controversy. Did it.
You knew the PR department was like, let's try this. This might work. Let's have them beat the Globetrotters. There was almost a revolt.
There was. They really turned the world on its axis. Is that what it would be like if the Brian Flores Miami Dolphins beat these Buffalo Bills coming out of the bye on Halloween Sunday? I don't know. This is what I would do, and we've talked about this before. This is where McDermott lives. It's like, as much as you love him when you're going to play Tampa later this year, or when you played Kansas City earlier, you really love him for these ones, because this is like that classic William and Mary, I'm still doing 50 dips and I'm all business. Sean McDermott really comes into handy, because I think he's the kind of coach that lives for this. And this is what I would do. If I was McDermott, I would say, we're going to sit down, we're going to have a little movie night, and we are going to screen a football game. And we are going to show you the 2021 Tennessee Titans, who beat us, losing to the 2021 New York Jets, which did happen.
Yeah.
The Jets lost to the Jaguars. The Jaguars hadn't won in 20 games. They beat the Jets, who beat the Titans, who beat us. Do you understand? Everybody wake up. We're not going to be the team that gets embarrassed. It's not going to be us. So I think this is where he lives. And the games have been wild this year. It's not one. It's so rare that you see 3 straight just absolutely terrible patsies in a row. You don't get that. And they have it for almost near a month. So McDermott, time to be the dip king again. Let's go.
Yeah, and then you look at the game this week against Miami, and, I mean, Miami has gotten kicked in the stomach, kicked in the face, kicked in the groin. The last 2 weeks, I mean, they lost on 2 different continents on a kick at the gun. That's really hard to do, Kyle. Is this a team that is on life support? Can they come back from this? Because you always worry about a team just getting so ticked off that they finally, they say enough is enough. I'm picturing the guy opening the window, stick your head out, and said, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. Is that where Miami is living coming into this one, or should we kick dirt on them now?
Well, what feels good as a Bills fan is that even when Miami was good, and they were a good team last year, Josh Allen still destroys them. I mean, it's unbelievable the way that he dunks on them and the numbers and the record and everything. I don't know. They're a weird bad team, and this is how I look at it. The Lions are bad because they just don't have the horses. They just don't. You watch their game, and last week Dan Campbell comes out and says, we're going to go an onside kick, we're going to do a fake punt, we're going to do another fake punt, and they all worked. And they still lost. Like, they just don't have good enough players. Miami has some great players. Like, they have great players all over and opportunistic guys who aren't even that talented but always seem to make a play. So I think they're the most dangerous kind, because one of these weeks, I don't care if it's a players-only meeting or bury the football or any of that nonsense. Like, Miami has talent. It's not just like they're playing out a string like Jacksonville or the Jets or the Lions. Miami was a team that picked by a lot of people to be a wild card this year. So I think of the next three, Miami, Jacksonville, New York. Miami's the tough one, and I don't care how well Josh has played against them. Off a bye week, off a loss, and Miami finally reaching that point. What is it? Network, when the guy screams that and he's got the trench coat on, or is it broadcast? Yeah. What is it? What is it? Network,
well, I want
right?
to say it's network or broadcast news. I can't remember which one.
Broadcast news is the one where the guy's sweating under his
that's
Albert
right.
Brooks, who's in Finding Nemo, he's sweating. I think it's network. It's a little before my time, but I know the reference, and maybe that's Brian Flores, because, God, people are calling for, like, the Flores midseason replacement, which I don't think is going to happen.
Yeah.
And Bronny, on another note of things I don't think is going to happen, I mean, everybody's eyebrows are going up saying the Dolphins are going to trade for Deshaun Watson. I don't think that's happening either. I don't think anybody is. I don't think anybody can. I think it's completely unviable and way too risky without knowing the future. So I think it is not going to be some crazy table that gets flipped before the kickoff this weekend. It's just going to be in Miami, and we'll see if they're pissed off.
Yeah, the most confounding thing about Miami, and I know Tua gets all the attention, and there's a part of me that actually feels bad for him. Because I don't think he's playing that bad right now. The most confounding thing about the Dolphins is they were resting their hopes on solid defense to support Tua to just manage games, running game, win football games by tight margins, and their defense has completely let them down. I mean, after last night's Monday night game, Kyle, they're last in the league in total defense, 31st in points allowed. It doesn't make any sense.
Man, Allen is going to light them up, Brownie. The way you just said that made me feel so much more comfortable about the Bills game. I was like, wow, they are really bad. I just got done with this whole thing saying that they got great players and whatnot. Here's the thing I'll share with you I thought was interesting, and I'm going to leave the names out. About a month ago, we had a Miami Dolphin on Good Morning Football, and he's on remote. You know, we're doing the interview and everything, and we had an ex-pro in the Nate Burleson seat. We asked just your standard question to this Dolphin about Tua. What do you think? You know, I think we were just going into the season. And what do you think about this, having him come back and be your leader this year? And the player on the Dolphin gave this answer where it was a little tepid, and he kind of looked down when he said it, and it was a short answer. And the former pro at the table said to us, like, you know, off the air, he said, "That's not a good answer, right? That I can tell you right now. Yeah. I don't know if Tua is the guy in this locker room." He said, "I've seen a lot of players talk about a lot of quarterbacks. That was not a good endorsement from that guy. I don't think the Dolphins are going to have it this year," and I've never forgotten that.
Yeah, there were a lot of things that didn't add up for me either. I mean, Steve and I talk about it all the time, but in the past off season, you had your next offensive coordinator come in, and it's co-offensive coordinators.
Yeah.
You're on your fourth offensive line coach under Brian Flores. And then, you know, to take it a step further, they jettisoned 5 of their 8 captains from last year's roster. All of that just it didn't add up for me. It was all it made me uneasy about their fortunes this season. And granted, their first 5 games on their schedule, it was a terrible gauntlet of opponents. I knew they were going to be in trouble from the jump, but I just didn't expect them to sink to these depths. I really thought they were going to be the most veritable competition the Bills would face in the division. I wasn't discounting New England, but there was a lot of turnover there too. So I'm just stunned at the depths to which they have sunk. That's the thing for me, and that's why Bills fans and Josh Allen's success is a part of this equation. They call it the "Who's Your Daddy" game, because that's what it's been for Josh. It's like the little brother, that you pick on and drag down the living room carpet. That's what it's been the last 6-7 meetings.
The game within the game for me this week, and really the next 3 weeks, is listening to all of the Bills players and coaches to try to act like they're playing the 85 Bears this weekend, because I really like that. Brownie, we talked about that during Chiefs week, where Josh was going to have none of that, and it was all, it's just one game at a time, another game on the schedule, and that was all BS, and I respect the way he said it. But now, okay, so let's say they play Miami, they win 31-17 or something great. They're going to go into that Jets and Jacksonville week and be like, "This is a very good opponent, really good, a lot of playmakers, a veteran coaching staff, like blah, 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 blah. It's going to be so fun to watch. There should be some sort of bingo sheet about how many times they say the quality opponent that they have when we all know they're lying. And, God, I'm entertained by that.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is, Coach, you mentioned the dips and all of this stuff. I'm sure he's doing pull-ups right now.
Oh,
but
yeah.
the Bills are 4-0 coming out of the bye. I will remind you that last year going into the bye, Hail Murray happened.
Oh, my God.
Bills go into the bye. They come back, and they just start bludgeoning people. They win their last 6 regular season games, not only because of the next 3 opponents that sit in front of them, but because of recent history going back to last year and a painful loss and how that impacted this team. Could you see the Bills going on a similar type run?
Absolutely, and that's a great stat. I mean, never mind third quarter, second half adjustments for coaches. I actually think that's kind of overrated. The out of the bye is a great stat, and we don't lose coming out of the bye because it tells you the players aren't idiots during the bye. They take care of themselves. They chill out. The coaches know how to ramp them back up. Like that is a really good endorsement. And listen, we talked about this I think last week. They're going to go through basically 3 buys, and I'm not overlooking these teams as much as I sound like, but they'll probably win. I still am already looking, and if I'm spending this next month as a Bills fan, if they're blowing teams out, I'm spending this next month watching Carson Wentz very closely because he is one of the most mercurial, maybe even inconsistent psychological players in the league right now, and he's the next guy, along with that Colts running game, that can be like, wow, they actually lost the game, or this came down to a last-second field goal. So if they're blowing these teams out, enjoy it, have fun, wings, tables, beer, and all that. Check out the Colts games. Keep an eye on them and see how Wentz is playing because that is a real game against a real opponent, and you don't really know what you're getting from that guy.
Well, and you told us last week, I mean, you clued us in on that last week that, after they struggled against a physical team in the Titans and couldn't stop Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor's the closest thing to Derrick Henry going right now. And you mentioned that, and I took that to heart. I watched the game against San Francisco in a freaking monsoon, and that's a team that's starting to find itself now. I thought Wentz played more confidently last week, and if that continues, a month from now, that's going to be a tough game.
I know. And they got the Titans this weekend. So that's a great measuring stick. This is Henry versus Taylor.
Love it.
This is the team that just beat the Bills and that they're going to see in a few weeks. Wentz is playing really well, and he's part of that easy target club, Brownie. Like he and Kirk Cousins, everyone loves making jokes and saying this and that when they mess up. Meanwhile, they usually play pretty well. And over the last 2 weeks, there's not a lot of quarterbacks in the entire league who have played better than Carson Wentz. Watch him this weekend against the Titans, Bills fans. That is a very interesting. I mean, you could see one of those teams in the playoffs, and you're going to see another one of them in a few weeks.
Last one here for you, Kyle, and then give me your score for Sunday's game as well. But the Chiefs always seem to dominate the AFC conversation. They're dominating it in a different way now. Is it time to push the panic button in Kansas City?
Yeah, I mean, it's. The panic button's one of those things, Brownie, where it's got this big red button and it's got the plastic cover over it. You have to lift. You have to turn 2 keys at the same time, and it's a very secure button in Kansas City. The thing I would say about the Chiefs is I don't even know where to point it. Like, normally for years we've done this. Man, that defense is kind of a mess, but who cares? Just chuck it long, Mahomes, and you'll be fine. No, they lead the league in turnovers. That's a crazy stat. In a year that we got a half dozen, it feels like, rookie quarterbacks just trying to get their feet wet, the Chiefs lead the league in turnovers and giveaways? I'm talking about the bad kind of turnovers. So it's so bad in Kansas City that we're asking questions that feel like sacrilege. Enough about the Mahomes and why is he falling apart. Has anybody checked in on Andy Reid? Like, I know that he's got this immortal status, and God bless him, we all love Andy. This team doesn't look ready to play. They don't look like they care. They don't look like they fired up. And let's not forget that for years there was a lot of criticism on Andy Reid that he shed when he went to Kansas City. He's been through a lot in his personal life, off the field. The football is terrible now. So, I don't know what's going on with Andy Reid and his staff, but I don't think that they get to skate. If you get to 3-4 and you have this many talented players, look at them. But the best thing I can say for the Bills fans, the Chiefs are not your problem right now because they're not relevant right now.
Yeah. So score, Kyle. What do you think? Bills, Miami.
I'm going to say that Miami is going to gouged the Buffalo defense for 11 points, and the Buffalo Bills will respond with 38. 38-11, the Buffalo Bills. Start bye month. Here it comes.
I'm going to have to look that up. That might be a scoregami there, Kyle.
38-11.
38-11.
So hot right now.
Oh, it is.
38-11. If it's not unprecedented, it's extremely rare, like an artifact.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see an artifact this weekend. 38-11. Step one of Buffalo Bills 2021 bye month. We're calling it.
All right, Kyle. Appreciate the time as always. We will catch up with you next week, good sir.
You're all class, Brownie.
All right. Take care.